Although I can't sit here very long and I can't share the meal, but I could share Divrei Torah. So, some years ago, I was at a chasana and I was sitting. And to the taste of one individual, I probably was sitting too long. And he came over to him and he asked, I know that the Rav doesn't really have so much time, so I'm looking at the Rav and you're sitting here for a while. And I told him, I'm just so happy to see happy people. I hear so many tzaras that just to sit around and see so many people smiling makes me happy. So you don't see your faces now, you're all smiling. And you're all smiling probably for Simchas Chanukah. I hope you're also smiling because you like to see me. But I want to tell you, when I give a Shia in the Kollel, you smile even more. And it's a geschmack to say a Shia in the Kollel, to see the Chedes HaDishmaitz, the Simchas HaTorah, and it means a great deal to me to be part of this Kollel. I'm sitting right up here with two of my most beloved Talmidim sitting to my right and to my left. I think you arrived to my Kollel together, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you were the first Americans. I was contemplating to take Amerikanische. And it was a very good choice. And you are reaping the benefits of that choice. So Baruch Hashem. It's a simcha to be here between Talmidim, Vishinantam Levonecho, Elu Haboni. Does anybody know who was the first Jewish historian? Who was the first Jewish historian? Who wrote the first comprehensive Jewish history?
Weiss?
Who?
Weiss?
Who said Moshe? No. The Torah is not a history. There are huge gaps. It's not a comprehensive history. The Torah is Torah Hashem. The Torah is Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi Asher Tzivesi L'Chorev Chukim U'Mishpotim. Who wrote the first systematic history? Rabbi Yossi ben Chanukah. And that is Seder Olam Rambosi. Josephus wrote the history of the wars, but not a comprehensive history. Seder Olam Rambosi is quoted twice in Shas. In Yevomis and Nida, it is from the first day of Masa Bereshis till Tkufas HaTanoi. That is Seder Olam Rambosi, written by the great Talmud of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi ben Chalaf. And when he comes to Chanukah, there's a strange mama. He says, in the days of Chanukah, there was a great hero, a Greek king and warrior, and his name was Alexandros. Chazal called him Alexander Mogdon because he was the Macedonian. In the world, he's known as Alexander the Great. Melech Gadol, b'yom of Poscha HaNevuah, mekan ve'elach, hat oznecho l'shmoa divrei chachamim. That's a strange passage. What does that have to do? He writes, in the days of Alexander, which is the days of Chanukah, Poscha HaNevuah, mekan ve'elach, the Goen was the only Achron. Lahavir Tachas Shiftoi, the entirety of Torah Shebal Peh. Izen, Vechiker, Tiken, Vehigia. Shisha Sidra Mishnah, Bamli Yerushalmi, Sifru, Sifri, Sifra Detzniasa. He also has a Goes on Seder Olam, which is interesting. And in this Mama, in Seder Olam Rabosi, the Gaon adds, B'yom of Poscha HaNevuah, Mishabot lo Yitzra de Avodah Zorah. So what is the kesher of Bot lo Yitzra de Avodah Zorah? Poscha HaNevuah And what does it have to do with the Greeks? What does it have to do with Alexander and with Chanukah? Libi Yoimali. And this is really a profound thought, which we really need to think about in depth. According to the Goen, this is not coincidence. Prophecy, nevuah is effective against avodah zarah. Mishabotlo avodah zarah, botla hanevuah. And we are faced and challenged with a new danger, and that is chokhmas ha'umois. Because choshech ze yavan. That's the very first shtickle in Medrash Rabbah, the beginning of Bereshis. V'choshech al pnei hatahom ze yavan. Yavan brought enlightenment to the world. The Greeks brought so much to the world. The great philosophers were the early Greek philosophers. Poetry, architecture, sports, Sparta. And they brought so much to the world. They lit up the world. But to us, that was darkness. And this new sakana, this new challenge, nevuah is no longer relevant. Mekan ve'elach, chokhmas ha'torah. Keneged chokhmas ha'umas, it is only chokhmas ha'torah. So the Seder Olam says, yes, in the days of Chanukah, the Greeks had a great king. His name was Alexander. Biyom of Posca HaNevuah. And the Goen says, Mishabot lo yitzra da avodah zorah. So against avodah zorah, we had Nevi'im that spoke the word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a new world out there, new challenges, and that is the beauty of Chochmas HaUmois. The only way we could counterbalance that is that darkness. Choshech al pnei hatahom ze yavan is only Chochmas HaTorah. Mekan ve'elach ha oznecho lishmoa divrei chacham. So many times I thought the Yavanim they destroyed all the Kollel. Actually, the name Chanukah is Al Shem Chanukah is a Mesiba. The Yavanim had to fix everything. So why was the Nes Dafkan the Menorah? Must be a reason. Why wasn't the Nes a Mesiba Pnimi, Mesiba Chutza, and the Shulchan, and the Ketores? Why was the Nes Dafkan the Menorah? And why in the Shemen of the Menorah? Not even the Menorah itself, but rather Nes Pach Hashem. Because of all the Klei HaMikdash, Menorah symbolizes Torah. Mizbeach is Avodah, both Mizbechos. Shulchan obviously is Chesed. Both in Zvochem and Chagigah Daf Chav Zayin, the Gemara says, Shulchan is Shalodem Mechaper. Both Rashi and Tosfos explain Shulchan is Chnosasorchem, Gemilas Chasodim. The danger of the Yavanim was Lashkichim Teresecho. And in the broader sense, that is the danger of Chochmas Yavan. It is Lashkichim Teresecho, to lure us away from our truths. And therefore, the Nes was in the Menorah, not in any other Kli. And Dafka Shemen Shebe Menorah. Because the Gemara says in the beginning of Perek HaRoya, HaRoya Shemen Zayis B'chalom Yitzapeh L'ma'or HaTorah. The Lichtigkeit von Torah. The art of Torah. That is Shemen Zayis. And that is why the Nes was Al Yedei Shemen Zayis Shebe Menorah Samor. Not the Shemen of the Menachos. Shemen of the Menorah. Which symbolizes not only Torah, but Or HaTorah. Haroya Shemen Zayis B'chalom Yitzapeh L'mor HaTorah. So one of the unique things about the period of the Chashmonaim was Malchus Beis Chashmonai was an illegitimate Malchus. They weren't Mebeis Yehuda. And the Ramban explains that is why They did not prevail. They couldn't last long. And it ended in terrible tragedy. Why was that? Because it wasn't in the Beis Yehuda. It wasn't Malchus Beis David. So why was it Min HaShamayim that it should be, that it should come to be at all? The way we learn, there is no coincidence. It's not just they were more stronger and powerful and more influential, and there must have been a reason. It is only once in our history that there was Malchus, which was not in Beis David, and that is Malchus Beis Chashmonai, and they were tzaddikim. It didn't last long. It ended in tragedy, but they were the tzaddik ador. They were Leviim. The Hatzolah and Bittul Gzeras HaYavonim must have been for Shevet Levi. Shevet Levi is the Shevet of Torah. The Gzera was Lashkichem Torah Secho. The Hatzolah was Hatzolah Torah. This was the duty, and this was the call of Shevet Levi. And Malchus Beis Chashmonai was Shevet Levi. And therefore it was called for, it was legitimate in this period. And when this struggle was over, no longer could be. But it had to be Shevet Levi. This was the call of Shevet Levi. And in Pirkei HaCholos of Rabbi Shmuel, there's a beautiful paragraph which I quoted in my Sefer. I don't remember the exact lashon, so I prefer you looking it up. The Tkufa, which started off in the days of Chanukah, was the amazing Tkufa of Torah Shebaal Peh. That was the Anshe Knesset Agdola, and Gedolah had to know. Mordechai was Anshe Knesset Agdola, and then started the period of Chachmei HaMishnah. Yes, Misha Botla HaNevuah, Botla Yitzhak Avodah Zorah, in this new world, Mekan ve'elech hatei oznacho l'shmoya divrei chachamim. So Chanukah is about Torah. And I think it should be a special Yom Tov for Bnei Torah and their families. Because the Gzera was Lashkichem Torah Secho, and many times I quote the Rokeach. The Rokeach says that the Lamed Vov Neiros Chanukah coincide with 36 hours that Olam Harishon was Nana Ma'oragonos. It's somewhere of a mystery. What are those 36 hours? It's a Yerushalmi in Brochas Daf Nun Dalet. Doesn't stim with the Bible. But the Yerushalmi says Olam Harishon was created Friday morning, and the Or was Nignas Motzoi Shabbos, so we had 36 hours to enjoy the Or HaGonos. And Keneged, those 36 hours, Mahadran and a Mahadran light 36 candles. Which once again, both the Baal Shem Tov and the Goen, and I'm always try to be balanced or imbalanced. So the Imre Pinchas quotes the Baal Shem Tov that the Oragonas is Nignas B'Torah. We find the same twice in the Sforim of Reb Chaim Volozhin, Sof Shar Aleph and Nefesh HaChaim, and in the introduction of Reb Chaim to Shnois Eliyahu on Mishnayos, quoting the Gro. So, actually it's a Medrash Tanchum in Parshas Noach and a Zohar in Parshas Truma. The Tanchum says, Ra she'ein hu olam kedayro, omed vegan zoi b'toira, la'amelei toira shebaal peh b'yom u'b'layla, sheb'shvilon hu olam oimed. The Zohar in Truma says, Kodesh Baruch Hu concealed the Oragonos in Torah. And wherever there is an individual, Kol atar de isman deloim b'yoraisa, wherever there's an individual that learns Torah b'layla, a ray of light from the Oragonos shines upon him. And if not for the Oragonos, the world would not have a key. So the Gaon and the Baal Shem Tov are both in the Zohar and in Medrash Tanchum. So the Imre Pinchas was the Pinchas Makoretz. He was a Talmud of Baal Shem Tov. And whenever I quote the Imre Pinchas, I challenge the Olam. He says, 36, we have another 36 that is also connected with Ner Chanukah. And I ask people listening to me, a Talmud of Baal Shem Tov says there's another 36. What does he mean? And everybody shouts out, Lamed Vav Tzadikim. Yeah? What did Baal Shem Tov say? 36. Lamed Vav Tzadikim. No. Lamed Vav Mesechtes Shas Bavli, which is interesting. We would expect that from Reb Chaim of Volozhin, but not from Reb Pinchas Makoretz. And why is that? Because both the Tanchuma and the Zoya stress, Mandeloim Bioraisa, Amelei Torah, and the essence of Omer Torah is Gemara, more than any other part of Torah. It is the Gemara, and all the Rishonim, and all the Achonim. Everything starts with the Gemara, and that is the essence of Omer. So when we light Neres Chanukah, I try to imagine, this Neres Bruchas and this one is Shabbos, this is Yevomis and that's Ksubis. And towards the end of Chanukah, we have the Ner of Zvucham and the one of Menachas, and Erechen and Krisis. Each Masechta has its own unique light, own unique oil. So Ashreinu Matov Chokeinu, that we have the schus to be Amelei Torah in a wonderful Beis Medrash. I don't have many opportunities to speak to the wives of the Avreichim. So if they're listening to me right now, and some probably are, I want to tell them how much I love this group of B'nai Torah, and I have great expectations from this Kollel, and I really hope that from this Kollel will be forthcoming Marbitzei Torah B'Yisrael, Moira Heroa B'Yisrael, and there is no greater endeavor, there's no greater schus than serving Klal Yisrael and teaching Torah. So Baruch Hashem, I'm happy to be part of it, and my brachas to Rav Dershowitz, Rav Rosen, Rav Hillel, Yedidi Hayokar. We should keep this up, and should it's Kela Hagel Torah Ladira, B'simcha, B'shalvo, B'nachal.